I was sick of feeling like a failure, so I stopped bedrotting, doom scrolling, and smoking my brains out and forced myself into pure discipline for 90 days because I thought that would fix everything. But by the end, it didn't. It wasn't discipline that changed me, it was something deeper, something more sustainable. And in this video, I'm going to break down what really matters if you want to make the type of change that sticks without needing 90 days of extreme discipline to get there. So who did I become after 90 days of discipline? I became the old me. And I remember when I committed to this discipline, it was during the COVID lockdown. And I was literally in my room all day watching, what was it? Spaceboy Bebop, Cowboy Bebop, I can't remember the name. Watching that, smoking all the time, eating horrible. Like I would literally at 2 a.m., I have a pen in my hand. If you know what a pen is, you know. If you don't worry about it. I have a pen in my hand, be in the kitchen with a chocolate cake in the other hand. No plate, no fork, just a sliced chocolate cake. Like literally, and then go to bed. And I remember one day I was sitting in my room playing Rocket League. I was just finished eating cake, and I'm looking at myself like, am I really this low right now? Like I literally don't even go outside anymore to get sunlight in my eyes. Am I down that bad? And that was when I made a decision that I was going to change. And the way I did that was I decided I was going to run a 7K. I don't know why it came to my head, but I said I'm going to challenge myself. So I'm going to train to run the 7K. And it took me 90 days to do it. I ran it, but it took me 90 days to build up. And I was running every other day, changing up my eating habits, getting more out, working out more. Like I was literally locked into this. And I remember the day I did the 7K. It was cold, it was rainy, it was not pretty. But I went out because I'm in my David Goggins mode, like, who okay the boats though? And I did the 7K. And when I finished it, I finally achieved my goal. 9 days of discipline. And then I stopped running. Like, I reached my goal. I was disciplined. And I stopped running and went right back to the old me. Right back to the old me who was not running, who was eating bad, who was smoking, all that stuff. And the reason is because I had a goal. And that's the biggest mistake. I had the goal not to run a 7K, but to be disciplined for that amount of time. To be disciplined to change things up. And so then I reached that goal. So now what? Now what? Nothing. Because when you reach your goal, there's nothing else to do. There's nothing else pulling you towards something different unless you set a new goal. Most people don't. So you reach this goal, and now there's nothing else that's motivating you to do more. So then you just fall back to where you were before you reach the goal. I've seen this happen so many times. Especially when you start seeing progress and then you just fall off. Why? Because it's not the goal that matters. Of course, goals do matter, and you gotta have goals. What really matters is if you change your identity. And that's what I want you to do. You need to work on changing your identity instead of trying to reach some arbitrary goal. It's like if you had the goal to get to, like, I don't know, 150 pounds, but you don't change your identity, you can change everything and get to that. But let's say you weigh 200 pounds, right? And you get down to 150, but you still have the identity of a 200-pound girl. So now you reach the goal 150. Yes, I did it. It's so great. Then you go right back to eating horribly, not exercising, not doing anything because you think you're going to stay at 150, but you're not going to stay at 150 unless you have the identity of a 150-pounder. And how do you get your identity? We're going to get into that a little bit later, but I just need you to understand, you don't want to focus on goals. You want to have goals. Goals are important, but for ultimate life change that's sustainable is your identity. Because think about this. If I offered you a piece of chocolate, what would you say? You either say, yes, I want it, or no, I don't want it. If you said, yes, you want it, you identify as a chocolate eater. If you said, no, I don't want it, you identify as somebody who doesn't eat chocolate. So 9 times out of 10, when I give you chocolate, you're either going to say yes or no, depending on your identity. Does this mean you can never change? Of course you can. If you don't eat chocolate, you can one day say, yeah, I want chocolate. But most of the times you would say no. The same thing applies to every goal. Sometimes you will work on your goal and you'll reach it. Most of the times you'll revert right back to who you were because that's just who you are. And you can see my identities up here. My identity is entrepreneur, family, woman, athlete, spiritual student. And so there are things that I do every single week to make progress underneath the identity that I am. And this will make more sense if we could have like a one-on-one conversation to break this down even more. Because this video is going to be like 12, 13 minutes. I'm not making it too long. So I hope you get an understanding of that. Maybe in different videos, I can go like more in detail on why having identities matter. A book I would recommend is Do What Matters Most. I forget who made it, but it's a book with like a arrow on it and like it's red and white. Definitely check that book out. I'm not gonna look for it because I don't want to edit this video, but Do What Matters Most. That book will break down what this is. But now that you have your identity, you're focusing more so on picking the identity of somebody instead of picking a goal. Even though goals are important, there's nuance to this, okay? Now you pick your identity. How do you make that identity you? By going down to the fundamentals of what makes us humans, our habits. Everything we do, like 80% of our behavior is down to habits. From the moment you wake up, you're moving automatically from a habit. Do you remember what hand you used to pull your covers off of you? Do you remember what foot you placed on the floor as soon as you got up? Do you remember, I don't know, how you start brushing your teeth? Did you go from left to right or right to left? You don't. Why? Because all those things you did out of habit. Do you know how like sometimes you're driving and you don't know how you got to where you're going, but you just got there? How? How did you drive there without even being conscious of you driving there? Habits. Life is made up of habits. So if you want to change your identity, you got to think about, okay, what identity do I want? And what are the habits that will reinforce that identity? And once you build a habit, once you build an identity-based habit, you form the identity. And now doing the habits, you don't even think about it. It's just second nature to you. Like, one of my habits is to just read every single day. Why? Because when I picked up my identity as entrepreneur, I asked myself, what are the habits of entrepreneur? They learn. They are avid learners. So I built the habit of reading in my life. I don't need discipline to read. Yeah, I said the goal is student to read, but I don't even need that. I just like to have goals to push me and keep me motivated to do a little bit more. But I read every single day out of habit, just because I want to, because I built the habit by thinking about the identity I want to have. Entrepreneurs learn, so I'm going to learn. Like, it's that simple. The same thing for like family woman. I thought, what do I want? What's my identity? I want to be a family woman too. Well, what are the habits of a family woman? Someone who visits their family. So I literally built the habit of visiting my grandparents, and I'll show you. I have a friendship tracker. So these are the people I want to keep in contact with. If I go a few days without talking to them, they'll get moved up. And now I know I need to call this person. So like, there are things I do to kind of help me stay on top. It all came down from thinking about my identity, figuring out the habits, and then creating those habits to my life. And I do have a guidebook that I'm going to put in my description on how to make habits in your life completely for free. I definitely recommend reading that, because once you learn the formula for how to create habits, it's not hard to make habits. It's not. You just got to know how to do it. But what I'm going to tell you to do, suggest for you to do, is look at this whole life, okay? And pick an identity from the box. What do you want to be? Or just use that as inspiration. And when you pick 3 to 5 identities you want to have, think about what other habits. What's the habit of an athlete? What's the habit of an author? What's the habit of a student? What's the habit of a musician? What's the habit of a surgeon? When you figure out their habits, literally every single day, do one of those habits until it becomes you. And I wish I could go into more detail, but that guidebook that I'm going to have in my description will definitely help you out. And another thing is, you can always, like, when you have your identity, whenever you face your choice, you can ask, what will that identity do? So, for example, let's say you want to be an athlete, right? That's the identity you picked. You go to the store and you see cake. You can say, what would the athlete do? Will the athlete get the cake, or will the athlete get the salad? The athlete would get the salad, and I'm an athlete, so I'm going to do what the athlete would do and get the salad. So there are so many different ways you can like build the right identity inside of you, but it's important that you do. It's important that you build your identity instead of working on some goal, because you can reach the goal, but when you reach the goal, it's over. But if you build that identity, then there's nothing to reach because you just are and you just do what that identity is. And I know that always thought of like do, is, be, but it's so important that you understand this. And that's it. So don't worry about trying to reach some arbitrary goal. Just change your identity. And to do that, change your habits based off the identity you want to be. And then the rest is easy peasy. I mean, the things I do, I've been making YouTube videos for like 3 years now. And you obviously see that I don't have thousands of subscribers, but my identity is of an entrepreneur. And entrepreneurs show up and do the work. One of the works is being out here on social media. So I'm doing it. It's not hard for me because I've changed my identity. But if I set the goal like, oh, I want to make videos for 90 days, I would have done that and then quit YouTube because I wouldn't have seen like much. Like, I wouldn't have seen much growth. Like, I wouldn't have seen, I don't have 1,000 subscribers, so I would have quit. But because I'm not focused, like, I do have goals. Like, one of my goals was to post 100 videos, and I just did that. And so I'll probably set another goal, but I don't really need that to stay motivated and keep showing up because my identity is that of entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs show up, they do the work, and the biggest entrepreneurs are on social media. So I'm going to be on that too. But now you know what works, and it's not trying to build discipline. It is trying to change your identity, which you can do. All right, you got this.